Sorry, is the music not audible? I'm being told
Not
by
audible.
system.
Not audible. Yeah, it's very low,
Let
maybe.
me just stop sharing and let's see what it is happening. Uh, oh, sorry, it was not on. Now it is. So I'll just start. Sorry for that. I'll just start resharing. Thank you, Sister Micheline, for getting that out. Okay. Yes, I'm sure now it is audible. Okay, so welcome all of you to the Values Workshop on Decency.
ओम शांति, आप सबका बहुत बहुत स्वागत है शिष्टता डिसेंसी के इस वर्कशॉप में। हमेशा की तरह वर्कशॉप शुरू करने से पहले हम इस मूल्य को अपने आप के लिए, अपने आप में स्वयं में देखते हैं। हम आज इस दुनिया में जो हैं अपनी शिष्टता के व्यवहार से, तो ये शिष्टता जो है बाह्य व्यवहार में नहीं है, सिर्फ बाह्य व्यवहार की बात नहीं है। हमें स्वयं से पूछना है एक गहरे स्तर पर कि डिसेंसी का अर्थ मेरे स्वयं के लिए क्या है। बहुत सारी बातें आध्यात्मिक शिष्टता के लिए हो सकती हैं। अपने आप से पूछते हुए कौन से ऐसे कंपोनेंट्स हैं जो इस शिष्टता में आते हैं और मैं क्या कर सकता हूँ या क्या कर सकती हूँ इस आध्यात्मिक शिष्टता को बढ़ाने के लिए। इसको हम एक्सप्लोर करते हैं। अब हम वर्कशॉप को शुरू करते हैं और परमपिता परमात्मा का आह्वान करते हैं। हमेशा की तरह हमारी टीम है फैसिलिटेटर की, इंटरप्रेटेटर्स की, सिस्टर अनु वेस्ट कोस्ट कनाडा और सिस्टर प्रियल जो है, जो नागपुर से सिस्टर प्रियल हमें ज्वाइन करते हैं। सभी फैसिलिटेटर की जो पूरी टीम है और रिकॉर्डर्स की जो सारी टीम है, अथक सेवाधारी हैं। ये एक लंबा हमारी यात्रा चलती आ रही है। ये 84वां एपिसोड है वर्कशॉप का सीरीज के ऊपर। आप देख रहे हैं ये जेंटलमैन कुछ कर रहे हैं, इसको हम देखते हैं आइस ब्रेकर को। सिस्टर अनु, आप मुझे मदद करें, मैं रिकॉर्डिंग आइकन नहीं देख सकती, तो उसको पॉज कर दें। हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। ये 2-2.5 मिनट की 3 मिनट की है।
I had to fast forward it. Apologies.
मैं माफी चाहता हूँ, मुझे फास्ट फॉरवर्ड करना पड़ा क्योंकि वो जो है वो उसी तरह से चल रहा था। तो लेफ्ट और राइट, लेफ्ट और हम अपना पर्सपेक्टिव आप लेफ्ट पर दे सकते हैं और राइट पर कुछ अलग था। लेफ्ट अनहेल्दी था और राइट जो था वो हेल्दी था। तो शिष्टता से के आधार पे हम क्विक शेयरिंग हम ले सकते हैं। चैट बॉक्स में कुछ शेयरिंग आ गई हैं। ओम शांति दीपक भाई ने कहा है आप अपना शेयरिंग कर सकते हैं अनम्यूट करके। हमारे पास थोड़े मिनट हैं। थैंक यू डॉक्टर मेहता, आपका बहुत शुक्रिया, आपने ज्वाइन किया। आपने 2-2.5 वीक का जो आपका रिकवरी है वो अच्छे से हो गया हो। ओम शांति। और कोई फैसिलिटेटर कोई स्टार्ट करना चाहे तो कर सकते हैं। आप अनम्यूट करके बात कर सकते हैं या अपना मैसेज जो है चैट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं। तो इस आइस ब्रेकर जो वीडियो था ये शिष्टता के आधार से क्या रिलेटेड है, ये सिस्टर पूजा ने हमें भेजा था कि डिसेंट चॉइसेस, वो डिसेंट राइट हैंड साइड पे जो व्यक्ति है वो सुबह जल्दी उठना, डिसेंट चॉइस बनाया। उनकी जो बड़ी टमी हो गई थी लेफ्ट वाली की, और जो राइट वाले थे वो बहुत अच्छे लग रहे थे। मैंने क्या देखा कि आप अपने शरीर का रिस्पेक्ट करें या ना करें, डिसेंसी और अपने समय को, अपने हेल्थ को, आपने आप जब उनकी रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं वो आपको डिसेंस लाइफ देती हैं। तो सिस्टर अनु भी कह रही है डिसेंसी जो है वो इक्वल चॉइसेस के बराबर है, अच्छी चॉइसेस के बराबर। ज्यादा काम और ज्यादा वर्क भी वो अच्छा है। गीता बहन कह रही हैं कि अच्छे काम करने से, गुड चॉइसेस करने से, अपने आप को रिस्पेक्ट देना, हमें अपने शरीर का सम्मान करना है। तो फिजिकल जो है वो हम एस्पेक्ट देख रहे हैं। तो अब हम आध्यात्मिक वर्कशॉप शुरू करते हैं उस पर। दीपक भाई और गीता बहन, अब अनु सिस्टर जो है वो पहली एक्सरसाइज हमें कराएंगे। थैंक यू। ये एक्सटर्नल लेवल था, फिजिकली हमने देखा कि कौन सी गुड चॉइसेस हम बनाते हैं जो हमें हेल्दी रखती हैं। एक जो है अब आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी आती है कि कैसे अपने मन और को हम हेल्दी रख सकते हैं, अपने दिल को हेल्दी रख सकते हैं, अपनी सोच के आधार पर कितने डिसेंट हैं वो। ये हमारी अच्छी चर्निंग होगी इस वर्कशॉप के द्वारा। तो पहली एक्सरसाइज में हम देखते हैं हम रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं अपने जीवन के स्पिरिचुअल डिसेंसी पर। देखते हैं कि कोई व्यक्ति जो हमारे जीवन में जिसने आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी को दर्शाया हो। हम बहुत सारे लोगों से मिलते हैं, हम बहुत सारे लोगों से प्रभावित होते हैं। हमने क्या उसमें महसूस किया हो जो कि डिसेंट हो, वो आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी हो जो हमें, आप सभी को ये चीज अच्छी लग रही हो। हम जिन्होंने ये डेमोन्स्ट्रेट किया हो आध्यात्मिक शिष्टता, तो शिष्टता के जो है आध्यात्मिक कंपोनेंट्स क्या हैं, तो वो कौन से एस्पेक्ट्स हैं उस व्यवहार के, वो जो कंपोनेंट्स हैं हम इसमें देखते हैं और सोचते हैं। 1 मिनट हम रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं इसके ऊपर की, उसके बाद हम शेयर करेंगे। हम 1 मिनट का अपने आप में सोचते हैं कि इन दोनों बातों के बारे में, और फिर वापस आते।
Going in the silence. Sorry about that.
साइलेंस में हैं हम अपने म्यूजिक हमारे अंदर जो चलता रहता है, हम रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं कि आध्यात्मिक शिष्टता, कौन सा व्यक्ति जिसने हमें ये अपना दर्शाया हो, आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी जिससे उस हम प्रभावित हुए हों।
Okay, we got few already points.
हमें कुछ पॉइंट्स आए हैं चैट के में। हम वेलकम करते हैं आप सबको कि आप अपने को अनम्यूट करके शेयर कर सकते हैं। टिपिकल अर्बन लाइफ फिजिकल लेवल पे, लेकिन जो आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी है वो और डीपर है। वो उन्होंने आइस ब्रेकर के बारे में बात की थी। तो हम स्पिरिचुअल एस्पेक्ट की तरफ चल रहे हैं। कॉम एंड पीसफुल, एक बहन ने कहा है। जूजर सिंह कहते हैं शिष्टता जो है वो ऐसे तरीके से की जाए कि वो प्रभावित हो, प्रेरणात्मक हो और सुंदर हो। तो ये एक भावना है कि हम इम्प्रेस होते हैं पॉजिटिवली, हम इंस्पायर प्रेरणात्मक बनते हैं और फिर अच्छा करते हैं। ये स्पिरिचुअल डिसेंसी है हमारे व्यवहार में। कविता बहन कहते हैं रेस्पेक्टफुल बनना है प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में रहकर। अगर हम प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में हैं, जिसके साथ भी हम संबंध संपर्क में आते हैं, हम उसके लिए सम्मान लेकर आ सकते हैं। गोल्डन बहन कहती हैं कि डिलाइट और शांति को स्प्रेड करना। तो ये सारी वैल्यूज जो हैं वो आ रही हैं, तो हमें ये अच्छा महसूस कराती हैं। प्रियल, आप शेयर कर सकते हैं। जो एक मैंने व्यक्ति को देखा, मेरे पिता हैं वो, जिनमें आध्यात्मिक स्पिरिचुअलिटी को देखा, आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसेस को देखा कि उनकी जो चॉइसेस थी, जैसे कि हम जीना चाहते हैं उस तरह से, उन्होंने वो हमेशा वो स्पेस दिया और हमारे को वो जगह दी हमें। और कोई भी व्यक्ति जो उनके सामने जो चुनाव करता था, वो बहुत ही मैं उससे बहुत प्रभावित हुई कि जो डिसेंसी थी उनके अंदर, सभी के लिए, खुद के लिए स्पेस। बहुत अच्छा ये था कि जो मैं बनना चाहती थी मैं बनी। जो एक स्पेस उन्होंने मुझे दिया, तो ये आध्यात्मिक डिसेंसी का रिजल्ट है। तो आप वैसा बन पाए जो आप बनना चाहती थी। थैंक यू, बहुत सुंदर शेयरिंग था आपका। सोनिया कहते हैं फॉर्म एंड अच्छे डिसीजन बने, ये जो हैं कंपोनेंट्स हैं। नो ट्रू आइडेंटिटी, हम क्या होता है अपने रोल्स में फंस जाते हैं, अपने कर्मों में फंस जाते हैं, स्वयं को भूल जाते हैं, तो हमें वो उससे आध्यात्मिक शिष्ट नहीं बनते हैं। कोई सही आइडेंटिटी नहीं। और डॉक्टर अशोक मेहता कहते हैं सच्चाई के प्रिंसिपल को फॉलो करना है, नॉन वायलेंस, ऑनेस्टी, मेडिटेशन, सेलिबेसी और राइट डिसीजन लेना। ये डॉक्टर मेहता ने बोला है। थैंक यू, आप सबने सुना। तो हम ये सब लिस्ट ले सकते हैं और इस पर रिफ्लेक्ट करते हैं। तो ये स्पिरिचुअल कंपोनेंट्स हैं शिष्टता के। डॉक्टर मनोज कहते हैं कुछ और मैसेजेस हैं, कोई और प्रेरणा, किसी और को प्रेरणा मिली है शेयर करने के लिए? आप अनम्यूट करके बात करना चाहें तो कर सकते हैं। मैं और थोड़े से पढ़ती हूँ। मेल सबसेज कहते हैं एथिकल व्यक्ति जो होता है सबके लिए वो कंसिडरेट करता है और उनको जो है वो लगता है कि वो हम उनके लिए वो हमारे पार्ट हैं। तो जो एथनिक होता है वो बहुत अच्छी गुण है कि जैसा मैं महसूस कर रहा हूँ, ये स्पिरिचुअल स्पेस है ताकि वो दूसरों को भी ऐसा कंफर्टेबल महसूस कराता है। गीता जुमानी कहते हैं ऑनेस्ट, नॉन जजमेंटल और कंपैशनेट, यानी उदारचित होना जो है, ये इसके शिष्टता के कंपोनेंट्स हैं। हमारे थोड़े और मिनट हैं, वो अपना शेयर करना चाहें तो कर सकते हैं। आप अपने जीवन से देख सकते हैं कि कौन से ऐसे व्यक्ति ने अपने जीवन में शिष्टता को यूज करा हो जो आपको प्रभावित करके गई हो। कोई भी जो है अनम्यूट करके बात कर सकता है। मे बी डॉक्टर मेहता बात करना चाहेंगे। मेरे पास क्लासिकल एग्जाम्पल है मेरी ग्रैंड ब्रदर का, जिन्होंने स्ट्रिक्टली जैनिज्म के रूल्स को फॉलो किया। उन्होंने अपने जीवन को वैसे ही जिया। तो मुझे लगता है कि जो पहले 5 प्रिंसिपल हैं, ट्रुथ, नॉन वायलेंस, नॉन स्टीलिंग, और वही चीजें रखी जो हमें जरूरत थी, और सेलिब्रेसी, ये 5 चीजों को उन्होंने अपने जीवन में फॉलो किया। क्या
Sorry, who did you say these qualities they were? I mean,
ये
who was the
क्वालिटीज
person?
किस में थी?
Grandmother.
ग्रैंड माँ, इनकी ग्रैंड मदर में, ये जो मदर की जो इनकी मदर थी, उनके अंदर ये सारी जो है वो गुण थे। ये 5 प्रिंसिपल जो जैनिज्म के उन्होंने पूरे किए। हम जो हैं वो बचपन से ही आप प्रभावित रहे इन बातों से, तो ये एक ग्रेट एसेट है आपके लिए। थैंक यू डॉक्टर मेहता। मैं दीपक ब्रदर से कहूंगी, ब्रह्मा बाबा की लाइफ स्टोरी हमें दिखाती है कि मेरिलसिया से कुछ कह रहे हैं, वो पोर्तुगीज में है।
You can just quickly mention in the chat box the person whom you have thought of having spiritual
जिसके
abilities.
बारे
You
में
can
आपने
quickly mention
सोच
in the
रहे
chat
हैं,
box that we know
आपको जो समझ में आया हो कौन सा
who
ऐसा
is having
व्यक्ति
spiritual
है
decency.
जिसकी सिस्टर रहना ने अपने आप को अनम्यूट किया है।
Okay, somebody asked me to unmute, so I'll share. So here it goes. I just mentioned that it is about being
जैसे
considerate.
मैंने कहा है कि
Everyone
कंसीडरेट
always
होना,
has some decency up to some level. Okay, there's no denying that fact. But one incident that really touched my heart is I was reading about it somewhere.
मैं
There was
ये जो एक
one
बात
of
कहना
the
चाहूंगी कि मैं कहीं पर एक बात कर रही थी।
Mama, that is the Jagdamba Saraswati, who was the first administrator, was having with Dadi Janki. And Mama was visiting Dadi Janki.
दादी जानकी की बात कर रही हूँ, और दादी जानकी जो है वो मम्मा के साथ बैठी हुई थी। अगले दिन उनको कहीं जाना था, तो उन्होंने दादी जानकी को बुलाया और कहा, मैं कुछ जगह पर जा रही हूँ और आपका इस समय पर समय आ जाऊंगी। तो दादी ने कहा कि आपसे वो मम्मा
If we do something, okay, and if I go somewhere without informing you, and for some reason you needed me, at some point of time, and then you start thinking about where she
सम
might
पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम में आपको इसकी
somewhere
जरूरत होगी। तो
and
थोड़े
this
समय के बाद वो मदर
concept
चली गई।
starts happening, then it becomes
ये
very
संकल्प
annoying.
मेरे मन में बार बार
So,
उठता था।
it doesn't matter what hierarchy we are. If we inform
जिस भी
others
हायरार्की में हम
about
हों,
what's
अगर हम
happening,
दूसरों को
what we are
बताएं,
doing, that way
आजाद हों,
so that we don't get burdened.
तो इस तरह
This
से गुड
really
हो।
touched me because we have come across such situation wherein we have given it or taken it, a lot of times because of some reasons. So this had really touched me.
Beautiful example. Yeah.
तो इस बात ने मुझे बहुत टच किया। तो वाकई में
it is about knowing that no matter where we are, which position, that is a
कोई भी पोजीशन में हम हैं, किस भी सिस्टम में हम काम करते हैं,
consider both ways.
वो अगर हम उसको ढंग से कंसीडर करते हैं तो वो बहुत अच्छे से चलता है। थैंक यू रहना, आपने इसको लाने के लिए बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आपका।
Marilza says it is
मैं
our boss who inspired, who shows the spiritual decency.
तो वो
that's
व्यवहार में
beautiful
शिष्टता
because
नजर
it's
आती है।
yeah, so I'm sure this is how, like, when we take some time to reflect, we
हमें कुछ
also
समय जरूर मिला हो ये
identify as
सोचने
well
का और
as
आइडेंटिफाई
we
करा हो
identify
हमें।
or reflect through those qualities that we need to have in our personality or behavior. So beautiful. I'm sure everybody enjoyed it. Well, before we move on to the next, I would request Deepak Bhai to show
इसके
whatever
बाद दीपक भाई से मैं रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि जो उन्होंने नोट डाउन किया है उस
Ki
सबका
Baba will be on
दिखाएं।
screen, but always remain hidden from this story. So he's bringing all that really inside essence. Ki Baba
जो
or
अंदर का एसेंस
God
है कि
is our
बाबा यानी परमात्मा
as we practice at Brahma Kumaris. So he shows the spiritual decency to the highest level. So we saw honesty, compassion.
हमने ऑनेस्टी देखी, कंपैशन देखा, शांति देखी जो आप लोगों ने शेयर किया है उसमें से। तो ये व्यवहार जो है वो मैनर्स है, हमें ये प्रोत्साहित करता है, हमें इसने सभी के लिए शुभ शुभ शांति हो। तो शांत तो परमात्मा को स्वयं देखना,
knowing the true identity, being calm and good decision making. Again, deep consideration for everyone. So we are getting honesty, consideration for others, calmness.
हम दूसरों के लिए कंसंट्रेशन करते हैं।
What like few of the spiritual decency components. So thank you everyone for sharing it. We also have honest,
आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया जो इसमें नॉन जेंटलमैननेस है। हम सभी का शुक्रिया अदा आपको करते हैं कि आपने ये सब प्रोग्राम ज्वाइन किया है। थैंक यू, आप सबका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। अब आप देख रहे हैं कि सुंदर सा 3D एनिमेशन तो बहुत सुंदर था।
Spiritual decency is an umbrella term which covers so many values. So let's, for the next 5 minutes or so now.
तो अगले 5 मिनट के लिए अब चलते हैं
and try to meditate on this aspect of spiritual decency. I'll give you a few guided thoughts.
मैं आपको कुछ गाइडेड थॉट्स देता हूँ और उसके बाद आप देखें कि आपके मन में क्या विचार आते हैं। तो आराम से बैठ जाएं, रिलैक्स हो जाएं, भागे में जहाँ वहाँ एक गहरा सांस लें।
Look at oneself, the beautiful point of
अ,
energy, light energy that you are, the soul energy. And speaking of this soul energy, which is full of intrinsic decency within itself.
ये डिसेंसी हमारे अंदर, स्वयं के अंदर,
And as we approach the soul in Raj Yoga
इससे हम देखकर यह समझते हैं कि सोल जो है वो आत्मा के पास चली गई।
the mind
कि जो इसकी 3 रस्से हैं,
and the sanskars or the personality.
तो ये जो हैबिट्स हैं वो हमारे संस्कारों को बदलती हैं।
So let me try to look at each one of these aspects of myself. First, have I got a decent mind? Which means a mind which is so pure, so calm and peaceful all the time.
कितना जो डॉग था वो शांत था और कॉम था बिल्कुल ही, और हमें रिस्पेक्ट करनी है।
Is my mind decent enough not to create negative, but also
कुछ भी नेगेटिव नहीं, सिर्फ ये वेस्ट थॉट ही हैं।
So ask oneself, how decent is my mind?
तो हमें देखना है कि मैं कितनी ज़्यादा अपने व्यवहार में शिष्टता का इस्तेमाल करती हूँ। जैसे हम आगे बढ़ते हैं, गुड क्वेश्चन है कि एनर्जी से ज़्यादा, जिससे इसका मतलब है ये मुझे क्या बहुत ज़्यादा समय लगता है अपने डिसीजन करने के लिए, निर्णय करने के लिए? क्या मुझे स्ट्रगल करना पड़ता है बहुत ज़्यादा सोच की वजह से डिसीजन करने के लिए? स्वयं से पूछना है कि मेरी जो बुद्धि है वो कितनी डिसेंट है निर्णय करने के लिए, इंस्टेंटली निर्णय करने के लिए, बिना कोई संकल्पों को वेस्ट करते हुए, अपनी आध्यात्मा की ऊर्जा को बिना व्यर्थ गंवाए हुए। तो दूसरा प्रश्न है कि दूसरा डिसेंट, मेरी बुद्धि कितनी शिष्ट है, कितनी उसमें डिसेंसी है। तीसरा एस्पेक्ट है जो बहुत ही अलग है, तो शिष्टता व्यवहार संस्कार में। जैसे हम सभी, हमने ये वर्कशॉप शुरू करी थी, हमने बहुत बातें की थी बाह्यता के बारे में, और जो कार्य करते थे शिष्टता के आधार से, उनसे पूछना है कि कौन सा, कि मैं अपने आप से पूछना है कि मैं कितनी डिसेंट हूँ। क्या मैं अपसेट होती हूँ कभी? क्या मेरे को कभी किसी से ईर्ष्या होती है, थोड़ी थोड़ी किसी से? स्वयं से पूछना है कि क्या मैं वाकई में डिसेंट हूँ, शिष्ट हूँ? कंपैरिजन, कंपटीशन के जो नीले हैं,
let me find out subtle ways and methods which I can adopt.
सूक्ष्म तरीकों से और हम अपने अंदर परिवर्तन लाकर रख सकते हैं, और अपनी जो पिक्चर्स हैं उनके ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट। अब हम आगे चलते हैं एक्शन प्लानिंग 2 की तरफ, जो कि सिस्टर प्रियल हमें कराएंगी। थैंक यू। थैंक यू ब्रदर मनोज, हमें इतना अच्छा रिफ्लेक्ट कराने के लिए। इसके बारे में हमें सोचने की जरूरत है। अब हम आगे चलते हैं एक्शन प्लानिंग की तरफ। जैसे आप सभी जानते हैं, ये जो है
Let's move on now to the question of action planning. Take a few minutes to
ये
think
थोड़े से समय लगेगा, थोड़ा सा सोचें कि
what are the various methods which can help
कौन
me
से अलग अलग
to
तरीके
enhance
हैं
my
जो मुझे
spiritual
मदद करते
decency.
हैं अपनी आध्यात्मिक
Can be
शिष्टता
the
को
way
बढ़ाने के लिए।
in which what could be the actions that I can take to enhance the expression of my spiritual decency. Please take a few moments. You can write your sharings in the chat box.
आप अपनी शेयरिंग चैट बॉक्स में लिख सकते हैं और अनम्यूट करके भी शेयरिंग कर सकते हैं।
Another moment.
एक और पल लेते हैं।
Okay. There are a few sharings in the chat box, but
यहाँ पे
before that,
थोड़ी शेयरिंग है
who would like to share?
जो चैट बॉक्स में। अगर आप चैट करना अगर अपने विचार रखना चाहें तो अनम्यूट करके अपने जो विचार हमारे साथ
It
शेयर
is
कर
my
सकते हैं इस
understanding
बारे
that
में।
when we share,
सभी के बगैर हमें
yes, Adnan, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, hi, thank you. Good morning, everyone.
गुड मॉर्निंग एवरीबॉडी।
My personal take on it is detaching yourself from any attachment that you have.
तो किसी भी डिटैचमेंट करना है, किसी चीज से भी ज्यादा आप जुड़े होते हैं।
For
जब कोई
example,
भी
your
अटैचमेंट
achievements
होती है,
at your workplace
कोई जो सफलता ही हो चाहे कार्य की अपने
or
ऑफिस
any
में,
other materialistic
और
attachment,
एक धर्म
then
से
there
दूसरे के
different
प्रति
cravings come in the in the person. Like you want to compete, you want to compete, or you
हम किसी से ईर्ष्या
yourself,
भाव नहीं रखे और
you
कुछ भी
kind of
नहीं है,
lose
और हम
the
अपने
quality
आप को लूज रखते हैं।
of a soul. So it's not like you shouldn't go for success, but you need to keep that balance that it doesn't take away your peace, right? So if it is balanced, it doesn't hurt
तो ये
anybody,
बैलेंस्ड हो, किसी को हर्ट ना करता हो,
everybody around
हमें
you.
फायदा देता हो और हमारे जो
Sometimes
चारों
people
तरफ हैं
get
सभी को
success, but
बेनिफिट
maybe
देता
because
हो।
of
लोग
other
कभी कभी
people to get
सफलता
that
मिलती है
success, so you don't want to
पर
do that.
लोगों के अलग
So
कदमों पर चलते हैं, तो आप ये
it's
नहीं करना
uncomfortable.
चाहते हैं। तो मे बी ऐसी सोच हो
Thank you
जिसमें
so
कि
much for
आप
sharing. That was
कहेंगे
beautiful.
ये
How
बहुत सुंदर
how
इन्होंने
to
शेयरिंग
be
की है।
present in even when you're working and not to harm somebody else to move ahead in your own life. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Is there anybody else who would like to share?
और सभी जानते हों, अगर कोई शेयर करना चाहे तो अनम्यूट करके शेयर कर सकता है।
Stories help us learn better. So it will be great if somebody can share. Okay. So I'll read a few sharings from the chat box. So Subhas says, follow Shiv Baba.
तो
That
सुभाष कहते हैं बाबा को
teaching
फॉलो करो।
is the supremest teaching. Deepak says, to know myself better as to who I am in my real essence. And that is the way how we can improve our spiritual decency.
इसी तरह से हम अपने आप को
And
इम्प्रूव
Decency
कर
says,
सकते
detach
हैं।
from any attachments. Shanti
किसी
says,
भी
from
लगाव
the
से मुक्त
level of
बनना है।
enlightened thoughts, words, and deeds. Beautiful.
Sorry to interrupt, Sister Priyal. People are saying unmute button is disabled. It is not, Sister Reina. You all can unmute. The settings we have already changed, so please check from your side. Thank you. Go on.
Okay, shall I unmute you, Sister Anna? I have sent you a message if you can unmute.
No, because I have in the participants myself again checked that the settings are.
Okay.
Yeah, it is fine, but I
Yeah.
don't, yeah.
Couldn't unmute. I could unmute only after I got the request to unmute.
We double checked. I
Anyway,
don't know what
so I
happens.
think
It changes from time to
मुझे
time.
नहीं पता कि क्या हुआ, समय अनुसार ये चेंज होता रहता है। थैंक यू सुई।
it would be to watch
मुझे लगता है कि मुझे हाँ
automatically actions will follow because we have experienced that when we're creating positive or elevated or divine thoughts, you don't have to think about a lot. Or even if you're saying good things, you don't feel
जो
like speaking a lot because the diamonds, the precious gems are few. You won't give it handfuls. So when you're creating good thoughts, your quantity of thoughts also increases, quantity decreases, and the quality increases. So if that happens, then you don't have to watch your words and actions so much. So that will automatically.
Okay, we lost Sister Rehna. Is it disconnected?
हम एक दूसरे से जुड़े हुए हैं, जैसे ये बहुत कम था।
Okay. Is there anybody else who would like to share?
कोई भी अनम्यूट
Rehna,
करके शेयर करना चाहे तो कर सकते हैं।
please go ahead. Brijpal bhai, you want to say? You unmuted yourself once. Geeta Jumani, you unmuted as well.
और गीता जुमानी जो अनम्यूट करके बोलना चाहे वो भी
Okay, I'll
बोल
keep the
सकती हैं।
sharings in the chat box meanwhile. Okay, so Shanti says to increase the level of purity
शांति
in
कहते हैं
thoughts
कि
and decency.
प्योरिटी का लेवल जो है वो
Anil
अपने
says
कर्म में,
calmness and good sanskaras
और
are
अनिल
to
कामनेस कहते हैं
improve decency.
इम्प्रूव करना है अपनी शिष्टता को बढ़ाने के लिए। ब्रिजपाल भाई कहते हैं श्रीमत को फॉलो करना है। श्रीमत जो है वो आध्यात्मिक जो पढ़ाई है, हमें डायरेक्शन है, वो परमात्मा से मिलते हैं। डॉक्टर अशोक मेहता कहते हैं अच्छी कंपनीज अच्छी समझेंगे उसके लिए।
So the more healthy we consume the content, the healthier our thoughts and the more decent we become. Beautiful. Shanti says to have unlimited disinterest. Sister Anu says being aware of my
सिस्टर
state
अनु
of
ने कहा
mind
कि
and
अपनी
thoughts
स्टेट ऑफ माइंड को
and
देखते रहना,
dissolving any negative
जानना,
shades with kindness. Being present moment conscious. Staying in this consciousness. Being aware of our thoughts consciously to check even the slightest deviation from the divinity. Beautiful.
तो ये देखो ये भी डिविनिटी से काफी जुड़े हुए हैं।
Gita says meditate on who I am and my original qualities. Brijpal Bhai says follow Srimat and detach from the self and others.
तो अपने आप से डिटैच होना है। लारा कहते हैं
Okay. Sister Rena has shared
सिस्टर रहना कह रहे हैं कि
Yeah, I don't know what's happening because
पता नहीं क्या हुआ
we
कि
were just checking the settings and it's
हम
all
चेकिंग कर रहे हैं सेटिंग,
it's
सबका
unable.
अनम्यूट है,
Settings are fine.
कर पा रहे हैं। सेटिंग्स तो ठीक है।
You know,
now this my video I'm not able to start, but it is muted.
मैं अपनी वीडियो को शुरू नहीं कर पा रहा हूँ, तो क्या मैं बात कर सकता हूँ?
You see, the way is the spiritual, this decency is just first we should learn to connect with the supreme.
हमें लर्न करना है किस तरह से हम सुप्रीम से कनेक्ट हो सकते हैं और इस दुनिया से अपने आप को अलग करना है, तभी हम आध्यात्मिक परमात्मा की से बात कर सकते हैं। लेकिन उस बात को जितना ज्यादा हम अहमस छोड़ कर जाएंगे, किस तरह से हम अपना कार्य करते हैं उसको हमें पता है। पॉजिटिव वाइब्रेशन की प्रिंसिपल वही जो है वो सूक्ष्म आधार प्राप्ति के बराबर है। जब तक मैं शरीर में हूँ तो हमें सभी कार्मिक अकाउंट को फिनिश करना है और हमें सुप्रीम परमपिता परमात्मा
and see the result. Om Shanti.
Thank you so much for sharing
Sorry,
that.
just to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. Actually, all the participants, I'm so sorry. We are just
सभी पार्टिसिपेंट्स जो हैं वो फैमिली नहीं वो
Yeah,
Video
Brishpal,
is
hold on. Just hold on for a minute.
Anuj bhai, let it be ticked. I don't know who is removing it.
Yeah.
It has to be ticked. It is
So-
now ticked
और
means
अब जो ये है
Fine.
Yeah,
But then
now
any-
we are good.
Okay, fine. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. And what about the video thing, Brishpal bhai? You can open the
video is not video is still disabled.
So just look at it, into it, Anu sister. I don't know what's
I'll
happening.
look at it.
So I'll just
But
start the video. I've just done it. I've done it now. Just all of you just check
Yeah,
it.
let me
Brishpal bhai, now it should be okay. Yeah. Okay, fine. Sorry for this goof up. Carry on, Sister Priya.
still not now it is now it is
Yes, we can see you, Brijpal bhai. Thank you for
So
sharing that
I have
beautiful
already I have already said two very important
वो हमें
this
कहते हैं कि दो शब्द जो हमें बताए हैं इसमें आध्यात्मिक शिष्टता आती है परम परम वी के आधार पर
we should not mourn the death. We should rejoice and celebrate because
तो हमें परमात्मा की
he is
परवाह
going
नहीं
with
होनी
the
चाहिए
Lord and meeting the going for a peaceful journey for life eternal. That is spiritual decency. And second thing, while remaining in this world, I should
कि
finish
इस दुनिया में रहते हुए किस तरह से मैं अपने कर्म फिनिश करती हूँ
and the knowledge all in the gyan know the knowledge, then you can elevate yourself, your conscience and the conscience of the other soul, and you will be in the blissful stage. That is the
तो
spiritual
ये
decency.
ब्लिसफुल
One
स्टेज
should
होती
be
है
decent with the self, one should be decent with the others. Decency is
तो स्वयं को
self-respect,
रिस्पेक्ट करते
humility,
होंगे दूसरे के लिए
growth, change,
गैत
peace,
हुई ना बात
solitude. Om
तो
Shanti.
शांति सुख और
Thank
उसको
you so
हमें
much for sharing, Brijpal bhai. Yeah, Geeta Jumani, you would want to share? Yeah.
Yeah, I would just quickly add, like in worldly life or day-to-day life, we have decency as kind of accepted rules, behavior, so that we can live and let live and help vulnerable people, show good manners. Otherwise, we can't really live amicably in our society. And for spiritual decency, I think when I say spiritual, you are decent. You cannot separate spirituality and decency or add just that virtue. So if I'm spiritual,
तो ये
that means
ऐसा मूल्य है यदि मैं आध्यात्मिक हूँ तो
I'm a soul, and automatically I'm focusing on my all qualities. If I meditate,
मैं अपनी क्वालिटीज को मेंटेन
usually
करती
I
हूँ
focus more in meditation on that who am I? That first lesson and the last lesson I still continue. So originally you will have those your original qualities, and of course you are decent. That's what I think.
Thank you so much for sharing, Geeta Ben. Okay, so there are a few sharings and then we'll move on.
कुछ शेयरिंग्स जो हैं वो
So,
हैं।
Tara says, looking at myself, checking my thoughts,
सभी आप देख रहे
observing
थे कि
what
जिस
was
तरह से
placed
मैंने
upon me,
सबको चेक
the
किया है,
scars that I have to transform,
तो
starting
हमें
with
बदलना
practicing
ही
to
है
know
उसके
better.
अलावा
So, to live, Shanti says to live and let others live their life their way. So, no subtle desires to know anything about the others. So, those are all beautiful messages. Thank you all for sharing so enthusiastically. Can we now please have Deepak Bhai to have a
दीपक भाई जो हैं वो सभी शिष्टाचार को
okay, okay, okay. So we'll move on.
Yeah.
Not yeah.
We are
Okay.
very late here.
Thank you.
Sorry for that. And okay, sorry for this goof up. I think this mute unmute thing was happening, but now it's all good. Okay, so let's move on to, we have less
तो हम
time.
आगे चलते हैं कम समय है हमारे पास तो जो हमने कितना
Senior Rajyogis with us, Sister Dipti from South Africa and Brother Ashish from UK.
हम एशीश से भी नहीं कर सकते तो हम कितना ज्यादा जो है वो
You're practicing that already. So the first thing which both of them had to speak, they
तो
started
पहली
with
बात जो है
self-respect,
वो
which is
हमें
coming in the next slide. But it is like when we have to really go through many things in life, it's important that what is the most important thing that time. And most important is to take care of the self, the mind. And decency, they said, is the mannerism of how I treat myself in times of adversity. Am I really having fast thoughts? Am I stressed? Am I dash, 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 so on. So if I can really pick up on those things and make sure my mannerism, then the mind, how my mind is behaving, the mannerism of my mind, that's more important here. And they also said the famous quote, which is that there is always pain, but suffering is optional. So I am the one who's deciding how decent I am in my thoughts in taking care
तो
of
मैं
my
अपने थॉट्स में कितना डिसेंट हूँ एक इश्यू में
situations. I'm not suffering from inside. And I think Sister Dipti said that there's a quick 3-step formula for this. It is step back. We do this in the Vihasa workshops as well. We call it the SOS approach. Stand back or step back, observe the situation from a distance as a detached observer.
और एक डिटैच ऑब्जर्वर की बने हुए दूरी से नहीं लेकिन हायर लेवल से, तो परिस्थिति जो है वो बहुत छोटी बन जाती है और उसको चेंज करना है। ये जो है वो SOS है, ये पहला फॉर्मूला है। दूसरा है कि जो हमें अनुभव हुआ है उस पर हमें रिफ्लेक्ट करना है, क्योंकि कोई भी विघ्न आता है, चैलेंजिंग होता है, वो हमें कुछ खुद ही स्वयं में सीखना होगा। तो जो आरामी रुशना हर परिस्थिति, हर कार्य में जो भी विघ्नों के रूप में आ रहे हैं, उस अनुभव से
and reflect deep on that traumatic experience which I had. And third thing is tune into emotions and feelings, because
हम अपनी जो रेडियो रूपी ट्यूनिंग है इसको जो है वो अपने थॉट्स पर ले जाएं।
So can I really dissect out
तो क्या मैं अपनी
and increase the space between the thought and the feeling, so that way I can tune into my emotions and feelings in a better way and respond adequately or appropriately. Then we start with the self, and the most important here is, I think, Sister Dipti was again and again harping that how much am I in my self-respect is directly proportional to am I being decent with myself. And for this, she mentioned that regular meditation will help us to clean out our inside. And she mentioned this again and again about this quote that do not throw your toys out of the cot, which basically means that I don't need to just be very vocal about getting upset and show it out. Can I deal it with royalty as well? That's what it was about this thing. As far as relationship with people are concerned, she said that the first energy is self-respect, the second is decency with others, which means I should not be compelled to be nice. Nice always doesn't mean to be honest. Sorry, it doesn't mean to be, I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted by some mobile phone. So I'm sorry for that. I'll just rephrase what I was saying. So nice means to be honest with oneself, with my feelings, with my emotions. What am I feeling about others, about a threat or a challenge in my life? And niceness doesn't come out of just the regard, which is like if I have fear of someone's position, someone's post, I get nice to him because I know I have to respect him and regard him. So it is something, an internal thing. It comes from honesty, and all of you have covered
ट्रेन से वेट पड़ा है, तो हमने यूनिवर्सिटी को पहले भी कवर किया है वर्कशॉप यूनिवर्सिटी के उस पर, तो आप समझ ये बहुत ब्यूटीफुल शेयरिंग है ये।
Ras means to dance, and this is the dance of sanskars, whereby if I don't understand the other person's rhythm, so physically,
उसके बाद एक रिदम है, तो अभी सारी वाली टीम के पीछे हट गए।
you may stamp on his toes, you may step on his toes, his or her, and you may, on the contrary, disturb the entire sequence of the dance. So same thing, if I'm not able to understand people, I won't be able to perform well. I won't be understanding what their rhythm is inside. So that's important to understand people and have a good spiritual dance, what we call the dance of sanskars. At Brahma Kumaris, the spiritual teachings tell us that while you are in communion with others, have the ras of sanskars. Then also there needs to be a dignity in relationship, and that dignity can come when both of them, the ones who are in relationship, they are operating from a very full state, which means the state of mind is very pure and elevated. And she also mentioned that our journey is not just about our challenges, but it's also more about investing in people on a daily basis. And this investment is not about some financial investment. It's about valuing people, valuing their time, and just trying to understand them, respecting for who they are.
तो हमें आज लौकिक में भी हमें सिखाते हैं माता पिता, और इसमें जो है वो हमें इस तरह से
I'm mindful of the time, so I have 5 more minutes. Let's see how much I can cover. A few aspects of decency is be present for one another, not only in tough times, but also in times otherwise. Value people's time and respect their time. Be open-hearted. You'll have covered this. Being compassionate, generous, kind, all is a part of being open-hearted. And hold the space for others to trust you. And I think it's a beautiful one. We need to give the space as well to people, because sometimes we really impinge a lot into people's spaces and don't give them that time to heal themselves. So let us give that space to them as well. Though not showing them that we are insensitive, but be detached from that and make sure that
ये व्यक्तियों में जाकर रहें, अपने आप को
given them their adequate space as well. And I think this was the quote which Sister Dipti said, that real decency is about how we navigate our journey. I, the soul, am on a journey, that journey. And inner decency is about how I maintain my royalty when I'm going through things which I'm going through, which means all the difficult times in life which I have to face. Okay, so we have 4 minutes. So I think the questions were quite interesting. The first one was, a thief has come and robbed me. How can I really respect and behave decently with a person who's robbed me? So here it comes down to Brother Ashish, I remember, said that we have to separate the person from his or her action, because every soul has intrinsic goodness within. And let me not condemn them for what action they have done. They have lost their way. He has stolen me or robbed me for some reason, maybe money, etc., etc. But I need to respect the person. The consequences of their action, here comes I must say, the deep karmic philosophy which is taught at Brahma Kumaris in the Raj Yoga meditation 7-day course, that each to his own, whatever a person is doing, he or she has to bear the consequences. So I don't need to take law in my hands. And on the contrary, when a person, say a robber, for example, has robbed me, he actually has committed a sin, and I need to actually have a lot of mercy on him. And this mercy will in turn help that person to heal himself. But doing all this, it has to be a balance. We don't have to be so naive that let people take disadvantage of our generosity and sort of come and rob us all the time. So we have to equally have that balance in our life. And a very interesting question is, nowadays people are on social media all the time, all sorts of social media apps. And you know those buttons, the like, the share, the comment, subscribe, all those people want. They need to see those. And people can sometimes end up having a war of words on social media and disrespect each other, be indecent with each other. So how do I deal with this? Should I just uninstall all the apps and be totally aloof from society, particularly on the social media? I think that's a good approach in one way if you can't deal with whatever comments are coming. But here, if I can read the last line first in the answer, she said that the soul needs the power of discernment. I need to decide that which app is having the potential for me to be on it for my benefit, or is it really worth leaving it? So it's my thing, because people also on WhatsApp, and nowadays WhatsApp has become, I must say this, it has really got many features where people can keep themselves hidden. You know that if you send a message to someone and whether that person is read or not, the text don't go blue. You can make yourself hidden. So well, that's all technology, but I think rather than the physical technology which we are speaking here, our inner technology is, despite reading all comments, despite getting some disrespectful remarks, indecent conversations from people, can I really draw a line inside? I need to know my self-respect. And I should not get affected by what people are constantly doing on social media. Okay, so my time is up and I'll just stop sharing the screen here. And yes, so I hope Sister Waddy is here. Okay, here you are. So before I pass it on to you, Sister Waddy, I would like to introduce you. You have been with us, I think, a few years ago. You'll be telling us soon, I know that. But I need to introduce you again to the audience. And Sister Waddy is a very senior Rajyogi, almost, I must say, 50 years into knowledge now. And she is one of those first students of Dadi Janki, who was so inspired by Dadi Janki's company. And also, Sister Waddy mentions that she had a profound experience in Madhuban, which made her dedicate. Madhuban is our, for people who don't know, Madhuban is the Mount Abu campus, which we have of Brahma Kumaris. Our international headquarters are there. After that, it's London. So after having a profound experience there, she dedicated her life into service. And then it's been almost 50 years now. She has been a spiritual student and a teacher, and she serves, not works rather, she serves as the coordinator of Brahma Kumaris in Florida and has spoken at many events in South Florida. And if I want to tell you a few programs which she was a part of, and she's still an active member of that, it is the EVO, IVOH, the Images and Voices of Hope. And now it's called the Peace Studio in South Florida. And she's also involved as a core team member of that. And as always, we are speaking about decency. So let me just also introduce and share a poem about her. So Sister Waddy, in her service, is full of spiritual decency. That's because she's abundantly gifted with proficiency. In her dealings, there's always a lot of transparency. And indeed, there's no scope at all for complacency. Her working style is filled with utmost efficiency. That's because in her behavior, there's no deficiency at all. Living in the sorry, I'll just take a minute and let you laugh as well. So living in the confluence age as a regency, where there's absolutely no insufficiency. Her talks are full of power and coherency, which radiate and vibrate with a spiritual frequency. And finally, she's indeed in her effort, having a lot of consistency, and she asks all of us also to be the same and avoid leniency. So there you are, and thank you so much for being with us. It's wonderful to have you again after, I think, a gap of 2 years. All yours, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Manoj. Your welcome has, of course, the immediate result of totally disarming one, because it is so unexpected and it comes with such sincerity and such sweetness, despite the fact that we've never actually physically interacted with each other. And so even as you were mentioning all of those things, we all know that it's really what you're saying. Although ostensibly you're saying it for me, but the truth of it is you're describing yourself. And I'm quite sure that anyone who knows you would agree with me, and that would just be a limited version of all of the qualities which you have. And I'm very touched by the fact that this project with all of the virtues has been running for so long, and it came, as you told me a little earlier, as at the same time as the COVID thing. That's when we all became very familiar with Zoom as an alternative way of interacting and serving and connecting with people. And that now is a number of years, and I quickly scanned the list of all of the virtues that had been taken up by countless instruments, teachers, lecturers, students, and workshopped from A through Z, each and every one of them, and all with no doubt the aim of deeply understanding the virtue and its application and the degree to which one may or may not have it, and how to avail oneself of it. And so I would imagine the result of all of these virtues,
ये सारे जो वर्च्यूज हैं जो हम इनको एक्सप्रेस करते हैं और जो हम स्वरूप हैं इन वर्च्यूज का, किस तरह का कल्चर हमारा है, कौन सा नेशन है, किसमें हम रहते हैं, किस तरह की दुनिया हमारे हम रह रहे हैं, तो एक लेवल पे हमें जरूरत ही नहीं है कुछ सर्टेन वर्च्यूज के बारे में कि हमें उसके वर्च्यूज को टेस्ट भी करने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। तो एक ही चीज जो है वो जो अंत में देखते हैं हम, तो जो प्रेम है, और प्रेम जो है वो हर गुण से भरा हुआ होता है जिसकी बातचीत की जाती है इस पॉइंट तक। तो मुझे लगता है कि जब ये टॉपिक आया, जिस हमने इसके बारे में बातचीत की, तो जब मैंने तो जी डिसेंसी है, शिष्टता है, जो शायद इसको हमने इसके बारे में बातचीत नहीं की है। ये जो है वो एक बेसिक कंपोनेंट है। हम इसको एक मूल्य कहेंगे या नहीं, क्या ये हमारे अंदर आना चाहिए अपने आप, और ये खाली बिहेवियर है, तो ये गुड मैनर्स में आता है। बहुत साल पहले एक परिस्थिति थी सेंटर में, दो छोटे बच्चे थे, एक जो है वो 4 साल का था और उससे भी छोटा जो 3.5 साल का, मे भी शायद उससे भी थोड़ा छोटा ही हो। तो जो छोटा बच्चा था वो उसको एक मैजिक वॉन्ड दी, और जो छोटी लड़की, वो एक दूसरे को नहीं जानते थे। छोटी सी बच्ची ने रोना शुरू कर दिया और उसने ये एक उसने ने जिद किया कि उसको नहीं मिला है मैजिक वॉन्ड। तो इसको हम जिसको हिस्सी फिट कहते हैं, उसने ऐसा करके दिखाया। तो उसकी मम्मी ने कुछ नहीं कहा उसको, लेकिन उसके बाद सभी जो एडल्ट थे देख रहे थे। एक
he put his arm around her and he gave her the magic wand, which she instantly accepted. didn't think. And so where did that come from? Was it
तो फिर
innate?
ये कहाँ से आया? क्या ये अंदर ही समाहित था? और जो इसको सीखा गया, वो दोनों बच्चे छोटे थे कि डिसेंसी क्या है। तो हम देख सकते हैं कि उनका व्यवहार, कि वो उन्होंने सही किया था, बट एक और जो कंपैशन का एलिमेंट है, हर गुण जो है वो दूसरी चीजों से, दूसरे मूल्यों से भरा हुआ है। तो हमें ये अपनी जो अपने बच्चों की तरफ हमें ये दिखानी होती है। तो एक लेसन था, एक प्रश्न था, जो क्या उसने सीखा, क्या वो पढ़े लिखे था, क्या उनकी मम्मी ने उनको सिखाया। तो वो भी बहुत विश्वास, उनको भी अधीर नहीं हुआ।
And so I do see decency as a behavior. You know, sometimes when we reflect on what it is that the supreme source of energy wants to teach us.
तो हर परिस्थिति जो हमें सिखाना चाहती है, तो मैं महसूस करती हूँ कि परमात्मा जो हमें सिखाना चाहते हैं, तो ये सिंपली जो है वो गुड मैनर्स हैं। ना सिर्फ गुड मैनर्स, एडिकेट्स नहीं, लेकिन वो तो एक सोशल बात हो जाती है। लेकिन ये कहते हैं ना, ये इस व्यक्ति की जगह है, उस व्यक्ति की जगह है। तो मैनर्स कुछ भी करने के लिए इसमें कोई भी आ सकता है। जो मैनर्स,
and that intuitively knows what is the right way to behave, and that should be guided by love, empathy, compassion, respect. And so these seems like very, very fundamental.
सभी के लिए ये जो फंडामेंटल चीजें हैं, प्रेम, रिस्पेक्ट दूसरों के लिए, वो तो वो जरूरी है। तो सबसे ज्यादा जरूरी और जो उससे भी है कि तो उनकी जो हम सीखते हैं सबसे ज्यादा, वो होता है सभा।
That there may have been a time, or that there was a time when our behavior,
हमारे पास शायद समय उतना ज्यादा ना हो, सभी के लिए, जो भी जिनके पास भी समय टाइम हो।
and so then decency for me is
तो शरीर के लिए कोई जो डिसेंसी है, एक और बिल्डिंग थी,
hopefully will be a new culture, a new way of being. Decency takes into consideration
जो आध्यात्मिक पवित्रता है, वो हमें लेकर जाती है। जो स्वच्छंदता है, तो एक जो बात है उदारता की, वो स्वयं आती है। तो मुझे अनमापी में देख रहे हैं और तो उससे हम एक्सप्रेशन से सीखते हैं। तो जैसे कि कुछ भी हो सकता है,
giving someone your seat on the bus. These are very, very simple things. But the other quality that goes along with it is consideration. And I think when there is this practice of decency and respect, that it's then becomes like a speeded up aspect, and that just automatically you don't have to weigh something, that it's almost like automatic. So it can no doubt be a learned behavior, but I really do think that decency can morph into heroism. It can morph into nobility, into something much larger. You know, I remember someone telling me this story once where they had been in, I guess, a bar, and there was a fellow who was very drunk, and he had smashed a bottle on the counter, and he was about to attack, presumably, the woman that he was with. And my friend got in between. This was something that had happened with this person. I only came to know them after being involved in this spiritual life, and they've been involved in this spiritual life. So for them, it was a way before in their youth. And he got in between the man with the smashed bottle and the woman, and prevented anything untoward from occurring. And in fact, at that time, I had asked him the question, this is the story he then told me. I asked him if he would be willing to die for a friend. You know, it's a strange question, perhaps, but I asked him if he would be willing to die for a friend. And this was the story he told me. And in other words, at the end of it, he said, Waddy, if I was willing to die for a stranger, and you're asking me if I would be willing to die for a friend? And so again, what was it that compelled him to do that? You know, at one level, it was an act of decency, but ultimately it became something of heroism, because both preventing any harm from coming to the woman and preventing the man from performing a horrendous act. And so this is the thing, as I say, with decency, that it has a goodness, it has a kindness, and it doesn't have so much selfishness in it. You know, what prevents decency? Can we say that today that people operate a lot out of decency? The expression is common decency, or this is human decency, you know, would be to maybe inform somebody you're not keeping the appointment, or, you know, passing on information, or to contribute something. I don't think there's as much decency. The possibility is there, but the expression of it has been perhaps subdued. And where, you know, I just came in at the end of the question and answer part, and I was seeing something to do with like social media and the inference of like bad behavior, where people are so quick to feel insulted and to take offense, and then to justify a similar behavior, to act in the same coin. And so decency, one of the things, you know, it's that idea that a first lady mentioned at one point, and she said, when they go low, we go high. You know, So, but the tendency, the old fashioned way, or what in the Bible would have been understood to be an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, although I'm not sure that the way that it's often understood is what exactly was meant. I think what they were saying is that there is such a thing as karma. They weren't advocating that if somebody does something bad to you, you need to do something equally bad to them. And so it's the old way is with revenge and malice, whereas the awareness that I'm trying to participate in the creation of a new humanity, a new way of being. And so it does not afford me the luxury of those kinds of attitudes, but rather how to draw on some degree of patience. And one of the things that I see when there is just the thought of doing the right thing, of aiming for the higher ground, it's almost as if there is an instantaneous assist. Now, don't ask me where the assist comes from. It could be from on high. It could be from the person next to me. It could be from some circumstance or another. But I really do feel that there's the whole thing of karma kind
जो
of
होल थिंग कर्मा का है,
speeded up at the present time.
तो वो प्रेजेंट टाइम के हिसाब से बढ़ गया है और वो कार्य करती है। और हम सभी जानते हैं, जैसे हमें कभी कोई सोच रही हो किसी के बारे में, कोई इरिटेशन रही हो, तो हमने अपने टो से ट्रिप किया हो, तो ये कर्मा है। लेकिन जो दूसरी साइड है वो भी कार्य करती है। जैसे ही कोई सोच आती है योगी की तरह, हम एनकरेज होते हैं, कनेक्ट होते हैं परम पिता परमात्मा से। और जैसे ही हम उनको याद करते हैं जो उसमें समाहित है, जो उनका जो तो ये डिसॉल्व कर देता है हार्ट बीट को। किसी के बारे में या और एक जो है एक पोर्टल जैसे कि ओपन हो, और कभी कभी जैसे एक बार जैसे उस बिल्कुल साफ स्वच्छ पानी का टैप ऑन करना होता है, और ये पोर्टल जो है ओपन होने से तुम्हारी सही सोच और परमात्मा की याद और अपने सम्मान की याद और प्रेम किसी भी एक के द्वारा, और फिर कुछ मदद जो हमें अपने आप ही मिलती है। ऐसे लगता है कि जैसे बरसात हो रही है और सीलिंग खुली हुई है। तो अपने सोच की नोबेलिटी जो है, अपनी इंटेंशन जो है, तो डिसेंसी मतलब किसी के लिए भी कोई इल वेल नहीं होगी, क्योंकि हम अच्छी तरह समझते हैं कि हमें यदि सेंटीमेंट हैं दूसरों के प्रति किसी भी बेसिस पर, किसी भी आधार से, इस सेंटी से या बार मान के, तो ये वापस हमारे पास ही आएगी। कि अपने आप को आपने डिमिनिश किया है।
And so one of the things when you act from a place of decency, it's easier to live with yourself.
तो बहुत इजी है
Because
अपने
if you're
साथ
not coming from a
जीना,
place of
लेकिन
decency,
यदि हम
you have to justify what it
डिसेंसी
is
की
that
जगह
you
से नहीं आ रहे,
thought
जो हमने किया है या
your
जो
life
भी
would
हमने
have to be.
सोचा ही है
And
या हमें
so
क्या
you're able
सोचना
to
है,
live with your own self. And I think that with other people, when they see you operate from a
जब वो
place of
हमें कार्य
decency,
करते हुए
we
देखते
tend
हैं
to
डिसेंसी
have
से,
good wishes
तो
for
हम कहते
everyone,
हैं
not favoritism or this one gets to play with me because they did this and this and this, but that you're equal in terms of your vision for everyone, then not only will your
ना
behavior
सिर्फ हमारा व्यवहार
and you're not doing it
में
by
भी
force,
हमारा
act as an
हम
inspiration
ऐसा व्यवहार
to
कर
them,
नहीं रहे होते,
but
लेकिन
you'll be trusted.
प्रेरणात्मक के लिए कि वो हमारे ऊपर ट्रस्ट ही विश्वास करते
And
हैं।
so that this thing of
तो इसलिए
decency,
हमें
yes, it
ये जो
looks like a
शिष्टता है,
building
इसके
block,
लिए ये
but
एक
there's
बिल्डिंग
so many
ब्लॉक
other
है।
things that
बहुत भी अलग
are
चीजें भी
there
हैं जो
along
इसके
the way.
साथ में आती हैं।
Someone mentioned the other day, and I liked it, the idea of decency being like a ladder, you know, and that each act that you perform from a place of decency, it's
तो
like
एक
moving up
शिष्टता की
from
जगह से जैसे एक
on
अलग
that stairway to heaven, so to speak,
ये-
you know, that you're climbing up. And okay, it may not work in other languages, but there's a very similar word to decency. Sometimes when we think of
तो
the
जो कुछ
British
शब्द
side
हैं
of decency,
डिसेंसी,
not so much
तो
in
हम
the
जो
English
उसकी अदर
sense,
साइड
but
देखते हैं, ना
descent.
सिर्फ शिष्टता में
The
रहते
two
हुए
of them, except for
डिसेंट,
one letter, they're spelled the same
एक
way.
व्यक्ति
So
जिस
there's
में
decency and then descent. And so if I'm not operating out of decency, I'm not increasing, I'm
क्योंकि ये
descending.
बढ़ेगी तो
I'm not
नहीं,
going up,
तो हमें
but I'm coming down the ladder, you know. And in my coming down the ladder, it makes it
क्या मैं
much
लैडर से
harder
जब
for
नीचे आता हूँ
others
तो
to
दूसरों
see
के
that
लिए
I'm
और भी
choosing wrong
मजबूत हो
as
सकता है
well.
कि हम वो
So,
अगली बार वो उस
you
शिष्टता के
know,
माहौल
what is
में
the
जाने
form
वाले हैं।
of decency? Behaving in a decent manner. I think poverty, and I'm not talking now about poor people, because we all know that very often the poorest of the poor will be the most decent, will be the most generous, but it's where you feel that there won't be
ये
enough
सबसे ज्यादा जेनरस होगी कि
so
ये
there's
काफी नहीं है
a
सिर्फ अपने लिए ही,
poverty
तो इसलिए हम
consciousness.
लोग जो
There's
हैं
fear
वो एक
that, you know, if I do the
डर
right
होता
thing,
है,
if I
जैसे कि
contribute, if I
जैसे
you know speak up or whatever,
कुछ
I'll be
बात
in
करनी
trouble,
होती है, कुछ बोलना
or
होता
that
है,
there
तो मैं
won't
प्रॉब्लम
be
में
enough,
आऊंगी कि यहाँ पर कोई
that
भी
my generosity won't extend that far, that I can only love so much, I can only respect you so much, that I put the limits. I put the limits on my decency. So
तो हम
sometimes
अपने लिमिट लगाते हैं अपनी डिसेंसी के ऊपर, तो कुछ ही ना किसी तरह का डर जो है,
it's
तो
not
डिसेंसी के साथ
self-serving.
ये
You know,
स्वयं को
it's
सेवा
not
नहीं करना है, सिर्फ
tinged with you know, ego. And
कहीं ना
then
कहीं
also I
ईगो
was
होती
thinking,
है। और तभी मैं ये सोच रही थी
you
कि
know, I'm remembering a time in my own life,
कि आप मेरे
way
जीवन
before
की तरफ
death,
चलें और ज्ञान से
not
पहले
to
की
go into the
राहु।
detail of it, which I'm sure it would not be of interest to any of you, but that you can never justify the circumstances that you find yourself in as an excuse not to be decent.
कोई
You know,
बहाना भी नहीं हो
that if
कि हमें,
decency is there
यदि
in you,
शिष्टता
you will not
अगर
allow
हमारे अंदर है,
circumstances to
तो आप
compromise
कोई भी परिस्थिति
that
को के
decency.
साथ
Do you
कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं
understand?
करेंगे उस
So
डिसेंसी को।
sometimes you know, say, oh
क्योंकि कभी 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 हमारे पास ऐसा नहीं पैसे थे तो मुझे जो है वो चोरी करने पड़े, या कोई भी इस पर ध्यान नहीं दे रहा था तो मुझे इंसिस्ट करा, मुझे अग्रेसिव होना पड़ा। तो जैसे मैंने कहा कि ये बहुत ही सिंपल बात है और ये अंडररेटेड है कि हम इसको मिस नहीं कर सकते। इसे
building the right culture of contributing to your own sense of self. That self respect without decency doesn't work.
तो डिसेंसी के बिना कुछ शब्द ऐसे हैं जो काम नहीं करते, उतनी उसमें रिस्पेक्ट नहीं होती और फिर ये रेंज हो जाते हैं।
So selfless that you let people walk all over you, or that that you're always the poor one. No. In fact, the decency will have a very
तो जो
healthy
शिष्टता जो है हमें हेल्दी होती है, हेल्दी सेंस होता है ऑफ हमारे सेल्फ रिस्पेक्ट का, और ये जो है वो उसमें कोई भी डर वाली बात नहीं होगी जब हम उसके बारे में सोचें।
So, when they talk about decency, it won't have the tendency to be insulting. It won't be abusive. Whereas nowadays language, even this
तो आजकल
word
के दिनों में
decency would be used in relation to how one dresses, like that they're not dressed decently or whatever.
यदि ये सही ढंग से कपड़े नहीं पहने हुए हैं या एप्रोप्रिएट नहीं लग रहे, सुंदर नहीं लग रहे हैं।
setting or whatever, and so anyway, that's sort of, I think, is there anything more to be said about decency? I think that's a lot, no? Where do we go from here?
Okay, so you've done, is it? Okay. Right.
तो ये
So
बातचीत हो गई
we
है,
have
तो
15 more minutes, so maybe
हमारे
a
पास
few
15
questions
मिनट
that we
और
could
हैं, तो हम कुछ प्रश्न ले सकते हैं।
people have.
मैं पार्टिसिपेंट से
Chance to
कहूंगा
interact
कि
with
यदि
Sister Waddy, you can
आपके
unmute and
पास
speak.
थोड़ा समय है
I'll
तो
just
आप
ask you
सिस्टर
few
वादी के
questions.
साथ
I mean, a few questions.
कंट्रोल पॉइंटर कर
So,
सकते
if
हैं।
someone is rude with me,
जब कोई मेरे साथ रूड है तो मुझे किस तरह से उसके साथ डील करना है?
Well, you have to make sure that you don't exchange the same in the same coin that you're rude back again. And it can be a way of examining your own self and
अपनी
seeing
जैसे
how quickly your ego got involved. And then, having been touched, what does your ego want to do? It wants to react. It wants to come back with a smart, jibe perhaps at the other person. And so I just think that
तो जैसे मैं सोचती हूँ कि
again, the world today,
फिर से कि ये जो
people, all of
कि
us
लोग हम
are
सभी
running on, not even half empty tanks, but there may be only an eighth of a tank left in one's heart or whatever, because there's so many assaults. And the essential component, again, I think what we come back to is to do with respect, right? And so self-respect. Now that other person, I think the thing that can change things is when I can somehow communicate that I respect you. And that I think that makes a difference. It's a question I sometimes ask people. Do you feel that you're more in need of love or respect? And in general terms, I really see, and proven by the answers that I get, people are
ये
in need
जो
of
जवाब हैं ये
they want respect from other people because they don't
जैसे वो दूसरों से
have
रिस्पेक्ट
enough
चाहते हैं
for
क्योंकि उनमें
themselves.
खुद अपने लिए नहीं
For me,
होता
it
है।
would be that
तो मेरे
moment
लिए
of
जैसे कि
checking myself
अपने
and
आप को
seeing
चेक
where my
करना
ego got involved.
कि
If
कहाँ
that
पर
got
मेरा
involved,
अभिमान जो है वो
then
इन्वॉल्व होता है।
you
और
know
अगर वो
the
जब
person was
उसमें
insulted
मिक्स हो
because
जाता है
for a
तो
reason. Maybe
व्यक्ति
I'm
जो
doing
है वो
something wrong. You know, am I willing to, you know, again we get defensive. We're not very good at taking criticism. And am I willing to immediately say, which bursts the bubble immediately, you are right, and this was my mistake.
Full. So, Sister Edna, yeah, go ahead. You had a
तो
question.
सिस्टर एडना जो है वो प्रश्न पूछना चाह रही हैं।
Hello.
गुड मॉर्निंग अल्लाह की सिस्टर।
I just wanted to ask, how do you deal with difficult people who you need to deal with them every single day? You
Mm.
try to break the ice and you try to be very humble to them, and you give them the respect they need.
अगर
You're
आप उनको
doing
रिस्पेक्ट
everything to
देते हैं,
make
आप सब
the
कुछ कर रहे
relationship
हैं
work,
और रिलेशनशिप को
and
आगे बढ़ाने
but
के
the
लिए,
other
लेकिन जो
person or the other
दूसरा
soul
व्यक्ति
is
है
not
या
willing
दूसरी
to
आत्मा है,
to
वो
cooperate.
उतना विलिंग
So
नहीं है
how
कोऑपरेट
you
करने के
you
लिए।
do it, then you get tired, you pick yourself up and you do it again, and you don't see anything changing on the other end. So how do you go about it? How can you strengthen that relationship?
Right.
What am I missing?
I'm not sure you're missing anything. And again, every situation is different, but we kind of position it in terms of I'm the good guy and they're the bad guy, you know, and it's never as, you know, black and white as that, is it? And for me, many quite some time ago, this awareness of a difficulty in relationship. Not so much, I wouldn't even put it in terms of a difficulty in relationship, but in other words, it came down to the same thing. I wanted this other person to behave in a particular kind of a way. And so year in, year out, and I'm saying, look, I've told you 10 times, I've told you 20 times, I've told you 100 times, and still you keep doing the same thing. And then one day I finally got it. And that was that you may want them to change, but they don't want to change. And so why am I imposing my way or my assumption of how something should be on them? And further, that even though I was saying, you know, I've told you for the last 10 years or whatever, and you haven't changed. But you know what? In those 10 years, I hadn't changed either. And so it was like, it was a revelation for me. And I'm not saying that I changed entirely, but at least the recognition that I was trying to impose something, and again, or that I will be good with you up until a certain extent or for a certain period of time, but then you have to give something. But it doesn't work like that either. You know, my contract with God is self-change. If others change by way of inspiration or some behavior that's being modeled, great, but it can't be my objective to change somebody else. And so back to this thing of decency again, or any quality for that matter, a measure of it will be how deep it is within me is only seen by how I deal with its opposite in somebody else. Do you understand? So in other words, I might say, decency is my sanskar, honesty is my sanskar. And that's why I'm so bent out of shape when you tell lies. No. Rather, if I'm bent out of shape by your lies, I don't have the sanskar of honesty. I'm trying to instill it and thinking that if everybody else is honest, it will be easier for me. And so whoever is in front of me, they're not there by accident. They have a reason for being there. Okay, you have situations where, yes, you have to move away. You have to move away where it's intolerable. It is not your self-respect to stay in that situation. But for the most part, no. These are people that we encounter on a daily basis. And so they ultimately are the ones who are going to give me my certificate. And so I have to just keep on improving myself to where I'm either immune to what it is that the other person is doing, or when my sanskar or my virtue is a divine virtue, you know. So one thing is a virtue, another thing is a divine virtue. When it's a divine virtue, then there will be perhaps transformation in the other. But at least my transformation will have happened. I'm not sure if that's helpful, but
Yeah, thank you so much.
pleasure.
Right. So it's a beautiful answer. I think there's another question which I'll take, and then I'll go to Sister Reina. She has also got another question. This question is in relation to social media. You touched upon that, but the question is that I'm very vulnerable. Probably it's the age where we are very fast thoughts going on, and I'm so vulnerable to people's comments and what sort of thing going on social media. How do I decrease my vulnerability? Can meditation help me? But when I meditate, that person comes to my mind again and again. So I don't want to meditate. That's the question.
Yes, like someone once said, you know, if I love you, you're forever in my heart. And if I don't like you, you're forever in my head. You know, that your mind goes there again and again. Again, very wary of the whole thing of social media and how huge an influence it is or it can be. And you know, you use the word vulnerable, and so it's a little bit like sensitive. That sensitive can have a good connotation, that I'm sensitive and that I pick up and I'm able to use that sensitivity to maybe help someone, that the sensitivity is more of an intuitive nature. But then the sensitivity that gets upset and is very volatile and, as you say, vulnerable. And the same thing with vulnerability, because so everything can be changed. And for me, I see vulnerability also in a good way, you know, that vulnerable, allowing yourself sometimes to be vulnerable is a measure of honesty, you know, that, but the kind of vulnerability that, like the sensitivity, that somebody says something, somebody implies something, and I get upset, then I really, just like again, if I have allergies, then I don't sit under the trees that are blossoming or whatever else, because I'm going to have an attack. And so by putting myself out there in terms of social media, if I have that kind of vulnerability, then it's not going to, by confronting it, it's not going to strengthen me. I really do need the meditation, because meditation is going to, it's a very good exercise in reality, what's real and what isn't. And so it's amazing when we talk about, you know, social media, you're not even dealing with a real person in a manner of speaking. You know, it's an image, and it's, anybody can say what they want. You know, if you were face to face with someone, you wouldn't say those things. You wouldn't behave in that way for the most part. But there's a kind of a, you know, by being just on a screen, it's like you think it affords you some kind of not just protection, but rather that you have the right to say whatever you want, and because nobody's going to reach out and smack you or push you or you know, physically connect with you. And so definitely meditation for a good healthy dose of what's real and what isn't, and what's of value. And so what sometimes I feel that we're doing on social media is you're allowing everybody else to dictate who it is you are, and you're believing it, you know, and you're being affected by it. And so that you're totally under that influence. Whereas in meditation, as said earlier, that supreme one is giving you an image of yourself in terms of eternity, is showing you the power that you had, the power that you have, the power that you will reconnect with and reemerge, and makes me less needy of other people's approval and other people's opinions. It's like, who do I believe? You know, what everybody else is telling me about myself. Yeah, you'll get all those comments, but in meditation, why is God asking us to remember him? He's asking us to remember him so that we can remember ourselves, that we can remind ourselves of who it is we are, what we've become, and, you know, and how to become, I think one of the things of decency too, is this aspect of usefulness, where you become of use to God and to humanity, and not least to your own self. And on the one hand, serious business, and on the other hand, that being has such a wonderful sense of humor that you can end up laughing at your own self and the games that you played until there was clarity about who you are.
Okay, wonderful. I think I'm afraid the time is up, but if Sister Reina can just have a quick question and a small answer from your side.
Okay, small answer.
And a quick question, yeah. Over to you, Sister Reina.
Hello.
It's not too, yes, it's not too quick, but you can decide. So the thing is, you were talking about, people being rude. So some people, are rude to you out of their habit, and sometimes they just want to get the better of you, or sometimes they just want to test you, how deep you are in waters, okay, how egoistic you are, these things. So how can, sometimes it's easy to distinguish why they're doing it. and it's easy to respond if we can distinguish. So is it, how differently do I respond? Or how can I distinguish what is the purpose behind this person being rude to me?
Well, I'm trying to think of a practical situation, but maybe you can tell me. What do you do? It's interesting that you've made the distinction between the two things, and which one is, why are they doing it?
How I detect is
yes.
Yeah. If the person is very transparent or very simple-minded, it's very easy to detect when they are being rude, because they don't look very rude. Okay, they might be very peaceful outside. If they're doing it out of their habit, it shows. Their vibes also come. But sometimes people are very cunning. They are very smart in hiding their vibes as well. So in that case, how do I distinguish? Or if I distinguish, is how differently do I respond?
Wow, I'm not seeing that there could or should be a different way of responding, especially if you have seen, but what it is that's behind it. There's, why are people rude? It can be, it could just be force of habit. Some people's nature, external nature is just like that. It's like, say, for instance, the difference in, say the East and the West, where in India, we came to learn that please and thank you wasn't so much used in terms of interactions, right? And so maybe to begin with, we'd think, well, they didn't say we did this, but they didn't say thank you, which would be, and it's a cultural thing. So it's not any intention of being rude. And so once you know that, then you're not going to react to it. That the intention was not there. And I don't know if that is something that applies in your situation. But again, one is a cultural thing, and the other thing is sometimes it's hard for me to imagine a situation where somebody's testing you. They want to see how you're going to react. And so if that's the case, then it's easy, isn't it? You're not going to react, because you're being tested. And so you want to pass the test. And so by all means, pass the test, but not for the other person. Pass it for yourself.
Wonderful. Hats on. That's the answer. Pass it for yourself, not for others. Thank you so much for being so patient and decently answering all our questions. That was okay. So I would now request, we have seniors with us, Dr. Ashok Mehta first. And
hello, Dr. Mehta. Nice to see you.
Shanti,
Long time. Oh, Om Shanti.
I think Waddy did a tremendous justice to the subject of decency. We all want to be decent.
Yeah.
But most of the time, there are situations when we fail. And in that case, I think we have failed in our test of being totally spiritual in Baba's Gyan.
Yeah. There's an expression that my mother used to use. Oh, you let yourself down a bagful. Meaning that you didn't live up to your own standards.
We have to achieve that very high standard.
Yeah.
I think most of us, we know that we fail quite often in practice, dealing with simple situations.
Yeah.
It's like somebody presses a button and you lose your patience, or you lose your decency, if you want to call it that way.
Yeah.
I think decency is a test for all of us, to be continuously decent, all the time to be decent, and never to be indecent.
Yes, never to descend. Descend and not descend. Yeah. But on the other hand, it's a simple thing. It's like, you know, rather than the big idea of like you should have love for everybody. I can't say that I love everybody, but I know how to be decent. I know how to be respectful. I know how to be kind. These are the small things, but these are the things that are the building blocks that really create the whole structure, you know, piece by piece. Decent man, good man. Yeah.
Sorry, Dr. Mehta, you are speaking something, but you have been muted. Please unmute. Don't know what has happened. Yeah. You have to unmute. Yeah. Yeah.
I think she has given us a lot of good answer, good keys to test our decency. And I think the important thing is that to have respect and love. And I think that's a test for your decency, that you are respectful and loving despite whatever is being told to you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Waddy. It was very enjoyable.
Thank you. Nice to see you after a long time. Yes. Hello, Claudia.
Shanti, good morning
Good morning.
on our side. It was so much pleasure to be with you. It's like we are in the same room, just talking to each other.
Yeah.
It's so nice because you are so easy in talking about this subject, and I feel just it's a pleasure to be. We cannot be in the physical, but at least in the Zoom, we feel like we are with each other talking about something so important in our life. Because at the end, we see we have to be decent to our own selves. That's the point.
That's the point. That's the
And so what else can we do? So if we don't do that, so how can we, you know, be happy at the end? So if we are not listening to our own, so I think that she frozen.
Whoops, what happened here?
Yeah, she got frozen.
Yeah, she's got okay, yeah, maybe she's
What
done
happened?
something.
Yeah, I think I did something here.
Yeah, but we can hear your audio. There's a lag of
There we
video.
go.
Yeah.
There we go. There we go. There we go. I was trying to take a picture. There we go.
So that's got frozen. That's good. That means we stay a little bit longer. Well, thank you very much, Waddy. It was so much pleasure to be with you this moment.
Thank you for the
very much.
invitation. Hope
Yeah.
to maybe
So,
see. Yes,
yeah.
Manoj bhai.
So thank you so much for the vote of thanks, both of you. And let me just, before I go on to the meditation, the closing meditation, which you will be doing for us. So I'll just do the announcements quickly. So as always, the next week we have a workshop. The workshop is over. So we have the next episode, which will be 86th. And it's on efficiency. In Hindi, we call it Karya Shamata. So we have another senior Arjun with us, Sister Denise Lawrence from France. We'll be sending you the links as well and the invitations. And yeah, I forgot that as Sister Anu has mentioned in the chat box, if there are any new participants who have joined today, quite a few actually were new, I felt. And if you want to be a part of the series, this series will go until November Diwali this time, where we finish 100 episodes. So please share with us your WhatsApp numbers and also your email addresses so that we can send you all the materials as well. And as always, followed by the talk, we have the workshop as we're having it today. So a week after that. So it will be on Saturday, 23rd of March, very close to the beautiful festival of Holi. And we have another holy sister with us, Sister Marilyn. She'll be joining with us from Boston for the first time. And she'll be sharing as Sister Waddy is doing today after the facilitation exercises. These are our email addresses and our websites. Please feel free to visit them. And if you have any feedback, comments, suggestions, queries, please email us as well. All these are recorded and they are available in different languages as well. And the episodes of the series and also the workshop episodes which we are doing today, all is recorded. So the links are here. I'll stop sharing the screen. And I just wanted to also say that Sister Waddy and we had a small chat before I approached her. Like I was thinking of sobriety, but you said it has it has not to be taken in that context because in the USA it has a different meaning. But though we say in India a sober person is a decent person, but it has a different connotation in the Western world. So therefore we said, do you want to touch upon that or it's not
No,
needed?
I was remembering that, you know, when you asked me to take the topic of sobriety, I only see sobriety as somebody who doesn't drink alcohol, you know, that it could have been a problem. Sober means it comes across as, you know, somebody who's very serious and what have you. It's that's why I said let me go with decency, because I feel decency is underrated, and yet it's such and it's something that each and every one of us can work with. Sobriety, not so much, but decency, yeah.
In the Divine Drama Plan, it was you who was supposed to do the workshop Talk Decency. Thank you so much. And I know you just came from Madhuban right now.
Yes.
So yeah, so it's 9:45 for us in India. We'll go ahead with the closing meditation. And Sister Anu, if you can quickly take, because
You
all
can
of us
take a quick
put
photo.
up-
Yes, everybody, you can please switch on your video. Don't want to miss
Please.
this chance. Take an electronic photo with you, Sister Waddy.
How long for the meditation, Manoj bhai?
5 minutes is that okay?
5 minutes, okay.
Yeah.
So you want a commentary, right?
Yeah, is that okay with you?
No problem, no problem.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. I got the photo as well.
Thank you. All right.
And if there are some new participants, sorry, if there are new participants, please send it to Sister Vidhi or everyone, your email addresses, because people are sending it to me. Anyway, I'll send it to you all as well. Okay. So over to the closing.
And finally, I listened to the call. Having ignored it many times before. And knowing that I would respond at some time, at the right time. Maybe when everything else had been exhausted, all adventures taken, all relationships explored, and something in the soul saying, enough now. It's time. And then my hesitant agreement, something opened like a doorway. Opening wider, and encouraging me to come through. And there's a vast expanse of light and of space. And with a sense of wonderment, it's as if I'm being carried by a presence that I cannot see, but whose love and peace surround me and hold me and lift me and introduce me to another dimension. And this dimension of light and of peace is both new and also familiar. And I'm instantly at home. And the voice whispers, this is who you are. You are peace. And I'm surrounded and welcomed and embraced by this serenity, tranquility, and belonging. And I remember, this is who I am. This is my supreme parent. I am home.
So thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Waddy.
you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.